Youth crime in Queensland is such a problem now that people are hiring private security guards. This is ridiculous. Not because they don't trust the police, but because they know there's so much of it the police can't respond to it. David Crisafulli is the Alternative Premier, the leader of the LNP, the opposition leader, and our mate who joins us now from the beautiful state of Queensland. Now, great man, I love the response of the government that I mentioned a bit earlier in the Courier Mail today, which was that parents need to take greater responsibility because we, the great Labor government, have already given the judges all the laws in the world that they need, while the very same story tells us that an 11-year-old was given about 800 chances before eventually bail was revoked.
The government can blame everybody they like, Paul, but here's two indisputable facts. The first is there is a provision in the Youth Justice Act that says detention must be a last resort. And I say that again, in black and white, detention must be a last resort. So they can blame everybody they like, but while that's there and they're refusing to move it, well then nothing will change. And the second thing is the state government can blame the parents all they like. The biggest parent in the state of Queensland is the state government. And when you see the failings in the home residential care, where kids who should be given support and being kept on the straight and narrow with discipline and education and extracurricular activities, well, they're just roaming free. So I'm sorry, the buck lies with the people who operate out of that building behind me.
Now, we know about the discretion which judges have, which means it doesn't matter what the top is, it's what the minimum is. But equally, you just spoke there about the support that needs to be given for parents. Again, in some practical terms, if you were the Premier, what would you do to try to fix this thing?
Three things, Paul. I'd rewrite the Youth Justice Act on day one, and I would embed consequences for action in all that we do. And front and centre, you say we are putting the rights of the victim ahead of the rights of the offender. I would put a victim on the Sentencing Advisory Council so the people are making some of those decisions know what it feels like. Number two, I'd unshackle the judiciary. I would remove detention as a last resort, and I would do that as a first order of business to make sure that where jail is needed, jail is given. And the third thing is gold standard early intervention. I want to try and get in and turn some of these kids around, give them hope before they're holding a knife, before they're ramming a police car. I want to take them and make sure they can understand what it is like to not be embedded in a life of crime before they roll down that track, as the last 8 years have done since the government watered down that act.
Does there need to be a different emphasis between how you police things in the southeast and how you deal with things in regional areas like Cairns, Townsville, Mackay?
I don't believe so, Paul. And interestingly, the stories I hear no longer are centred just around Townsville or Cairns. It's spread to proud little communities like Toowoomba and Goondiwindi. It's north and south of Brisbane, it's the Gold Coast, it's the sunny coast, it's out to the Isa, it's everywhere in between. And in the end, everybody's suffering from two things. One is the act was watered down. The government boasted when they did it, when they were elected 8 years ago. They watered down the law, and on the back of it, you've got a generation of repeat hardcore young offenders who know that their rights are greater than the rights of the victim. The second thing is there are 72 fewer police today than before the last election. And the government went to the election saying, we're going to put on another 1,450 police. Not only have they not done that, they've gone backwards. And their own figures have shown that. And it took us a lot to extract that, I can tell you. But they are facts in black and white. Fewer police, weaker laws. Is it any wonder we're in the middle of a youth crime crisis?
So let's be clear, under Palaszczuk, the number of people working in the media department goes up, the number of police on the streets goes down. Good enough reason to change your government. Thank you, David. We'll talk to you again soon. David Crisafulli there, the Leader of the Opposition in Queensland.